Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Jason Singh. I'm an educator at a private school in Toronto, and I've started this resource because we are currently in the COVID-19 pandemic, so it's currently March 28th. A lot of us around the world have been suddenly and unexpectedly sent home and staying at home for quite a long time. And we know as teachers this can be very difficult because we want to be able to be with our students and we can't. To that end, a lot of schools have switched very quickly to online learning, and as a result, a lot of us are scrambling to try to figure out how exactly can we facilitate learning in an online environment. And so this resource is designed to organize some of the different resources that are available online in terms of working directly with students, either live or not live, and creating other resources that might be useful or pointing them into in the direction of other resources that could be useful as well. So personally myself, I work at a private school. I'm a high school science teacher, and we've been online for about a week now, so we just finished our last week. It's been very different, I can say for sure. It's very hard to engage because you don't know if they're responding to anything you're saying as they were in a live class. So I'm finding that's my biggest challenge right now, is how do I keep them engaged? How do I know that they're keeping up with the material or that they're understanding anything we're talking about, because of course you don't want to wait till a final assessment to figure that out. So this resource here, it's been created and will continue to be created with a lot of colleagues. So it's posted on the Facebook group for Ontario teachers. It's also created with a whole bunch of other organizations I work through. And my purpose here is just to give you a little background about what this is used for, how it's organized, and why you would be here, why you would be using this. So at the bottom, I have a couple of tabs set up, and the tabs are just designed to kind of curate the system. I do this because, personally, I have a huge bookmarks collection on my Chrome, and I don't know what's in there anymore. I've tried to organize it, but when you only have a title to go by, sometimes it's just hard to know, is this useful for what I'm thinking of right now at this moment? And sometimes it's just harder to actually go in and look through it than to just find something else and, Google it from scratch again. So the purpose of this is to try to curate the collection a bit so that you can have at least some idea of, is this what I'm looking for? Is this what I want to use for whatever activity I have in mind? Or even maybe discover something and it'll spark an idea you might have never had before. So the tabs at the bottom, I designed them trying to do this, trying to create that curation. Of course, if you have suggestions about these, maybe a title that would better capture what I'm trying to collect here, you can please suggest it to me. So the communication is just anything where you're trying to communicate with your students or communicate with parents. So for example, here I have the remind. You'll see that all the tabs are basically carbon copies of each other. The only thing I've done is color code them. So the first one on the left side, the first column, would be the resource, and it is hot linked, so you could just click that. The subject area, when I put all, it just literally means all, so K to 12 it would be. Now, obviously, remind you may not be using with your kindergarteners, but you might be using with their parents. So I leave it as all, just as, it is a possibility for you. The primary use is just what is it, and this I hope anyway, will be useful. So in this case, two-way communication and one-way teacher announcements, just so that you can read that and you can think, okay, is this something maybe I should check out? Or you can read that and say, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. And then to that end, the pros and cons are just to build on that. So the pros that I put here are they allow announcements, attachments, and one-to-one messages. And some of the cons in this case are that announcements are limited in characters. So it's kind of like a Twitter message when you send an announcement, you only have so many characters. And then in brackets suggestions, so this is for my own work, sometimes you can attach a file. So instead of putting the actual long message, I just write it out on a Word document, turn it into a PDF, and then just send them the PDF. And that way they can get the message and they can get all that information as well. So that's an idea of this one. For digital collaboration, so this is anything where you are wanting to work in an online environment with the students where you can post and they can also work together collaboratively. So here are 3 so far that have come up, and again, these are for all levels depending on how you're able to use them. Workflow is something that I've created just because in my own teaching experience, there are certain things we all do that help us in our day-to-day, but we don't always share these. And so I'm hoping this will build. I definitely have a lot more to add to this personally, but I do hope to discover some as well. So this is just anything that makes it easier to do something or something that helps you organize, whatever your strategy is, things like that. Curriculum materials are just general, meaning just these have any kind of curriculum materials. There isn't really like a specific category for them. So some common ones are Teach Ontario, which has come out. The AG Escape, this one is for agriculture specifically, so I'll put the actual subject area there. And then Nelson K-12 Open Access is again an open one. Now for the grades for these, even if it's K-12, actually, for this one, I'm going to change this as I'm reading this. But for example, for Nelson, I put all the grades just because my hope is later, when this becomes a lot bigger, you can just keyword search, number 5, and everything that has grade 5 will just pop up for you. And that's my hope, is that it just makes it a bit faster and easier. And that way you're not going through all these resources that don't actually apply to the level that you're teaching at. And then I'm doing some specific areas. So math is a big one. I'll probably make like a reading or literacy sort of section, things like that, as I, again, continue to find more resources. And some of them, for example, here I'll put high school. Again, now I'm looking back at this, I might change that, just depending on how I can make this where everyone reads it the same. And then this is, whatever's coming next. I don't know yet. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how I've organized this. It is very early in this resource, so I am hoping to keep building this, and I am hoping for your suggestions and ideas in order to make this a better resource. And on the intro page here, I'll just keep adding more as we progress through this. So thanks for checking this out. I do hope this is helpful, and please feel free to contact me with information, with resources, or with suggestions.